Okay, we've talked about the pencil drawing underneath before, but how important it is. But what I'm looking at now is not only how important it is when I'm making the black line that comes with the painting near the finishing of the process. Let's look at again. Look at whether this is a Cretacolor made graphite. It's not as black as the Faber-Castell giant black, but it's a little bit softer, and that's what I need, a softer line with the black line on top of. If we come over this way, we can see what I drew out yesterday. And it's all done with this pencil. The Cretacolor Mega Graphite. The Mega Graphite speaks for itself. Okay, so here's this drawing, and here's what I'm talking about. Is making it with flow, and the connection of the lines flow into each other and out of each other. So the important of the flow is that everything flows together. In the end, the piece has to flow together. To flow together, it's important that I make my drawing flow together. To make the drawing not flow together is setting myself up for a problem down the line, down the process. And remember that this is part of a process that I'm doing as I'm doing this work, in stages. And I work in stages because at my age I like to do it slower and more thought. So my thought process with the pencil is a very important part of the beginning of the process. Let's look at this. The line has to be continuous because to make it flow, it has to be continuous. To break it up is to break it up inside the outside form. Inside the outside form is a very important part of what I do. I need to have that flexibility of the inside-outside process. Inside, and here's the outside shape. That's the main compositional device. Inside is the more activity going on. Well, inside tells the facial story, the masks that goes back to the work. Let's think about why it has to be the way it is. It has to be spontaneous from the drawing. The drawing has to be a spontaneous drawing. And flow. And the flow has to be spontaneous. You can't sit down and make it in detailed pieces. It won't work. So, here's the outside shape. the inside shape, and then the figures, the features of the mask or the story. What I've added to this one is I've added these straight lines to break up the outside line. So it gets a variety inside between the face and the outside shape. And to understand the outside shape is to understand its relationship to the white of the paper, because we're still using the white of the paper as part of the composition. Let's think about that for a minute in terms of the composition. The heavy 300-pound paper that we've been using for this whole series. And what is the relationship between the line, the furthest outside line, and the edge of the paper? The edge of the paper to the outside line. It tells us how this is going to fit on the paper. On the paper, it must still be important, but at the same time, flow. It has to float on the white paper. Again, the importance of the drawing is that it flows on the white paper. Not making it something that just is not part of the process, but is the process. Let's talk about what I need on different parts of the paper, that it flows across the paper, because everything that I do in this series is flowing across the 22 by 30 paper. What I am talking about is drawing on the 22 by 30 paper, but drawing in relationship to the edge of the paper. The edge of the paper is a very important part of the composition. Without it, it won't work. I don't sit here and measure out where it is. I'm going to draw with my arm and hand the flow. So that tells us where we're going to be on the paper. Inside tells us where we're going to tell the story. Inside the paper, inside the outside line. So it's the inside working with the outside working with the inside. The importance of all this is that it's there. On that those shapes are there, and that they stand on their own. And the colors that I use will reflect the mood that I want. And the mood that I want may be determined by the shapes that I made in the beginning.